why a positive attitude is key to success. Welcome back. My name is Ted Thomas, and I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years. Now, this episode is a discussion about why a positive attitude is key to success. Okay, so happy to have you back, and I'm going to suggest that if you're working and you have 2 arms and you have 2 legs and you're feeling pretty darn good about yourself and you have a couple of eyes that are working, you should be successful. All right, so you want to be grateful for what you already have. So why a positive attitude is a key to success is because if you've got a good attitude, you've got a much better chance of making it in business. Now, if you're really fortunate, you have a nice family, you got a mom and dad, you got wife and kids and so on, well, count your blessings because you have a lot more than a lot of people in the world. Now, you can't control what's going to happen in life. Every step of the way is not forecastable. So I don't know what's going to happen, but you certainly can control your own attitude. Now, if you're going to control your attitude, you're going to have some kind of a plan to do that. So try to outline a little bit of a plan that works for me. I think it'll work for you. But the point is, every day we're going to be faced with confrontation, we're going to be faced with challenges, and you're going to have to do something about it. So it's not easy to survive in a pain-free world. It just is not going to happen. But you can control everything that you do because you can control your thought process. So if you can control your thought process, you're in charge. So a positive attitude is what's going to make a big difference in whether you're going to be successful or fail. All right, so positive attitude comes from using a long-term perspective, at least from my standpoint. So what happens? You get a confrontation today. That doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It means it's a problem that you have to solve today. So today's crisis is exactly that. It's today's crisis. It doesn't mean that you need to have a bad attitude, that you need to be pissed off at the world or and all that. Folks, your attitude is going to depend upon how successful you're going to be. All right, so let's think about the future. Now, I think about the future a little different than everyone else. Everyone that would like to buy a property, they buy a house, and they get payments to make for 30 years. Well, that's 360 payments. But what's the reward when you finish? The reward is that you're going to own a house. Well, that's a big reward. See, people make their payment every month, and it takes them a long time to pay for it, but they've got a reward. Well, it's the same thing in business. You've got to think about where you're headed. What is your objective? Where are you going to be? All right, so you can't just worry about today. Today's going to have crises. Yes, you'll have to solve them. I can tell you right now, if you're flexible, that's one of the best traits of being an entrepreneur. You're going to have to kind of roll with the punches because you're going to have them every day. A lot of people can't handle that. They have to do the same thing day in and day out, same thing. They can't handle any controversy. Well, business is one big controversy, I can assure you of that. So you didn't come into the world owning a lot of assets. For example, I use the house. It might take you 30 years to pay for it, but if you can think about getting it paid for every time you make that payment, it's going to make you feel a lot better. So I'm just giving you ideas to control your own future. You need to control your mind. If you can do that, you're going to be okay. So when you see the hotheads in the cars cutting each other off and doing foolish things, well, they're going to pay the price someday for all that foolishness. You need to be able to control. So that's a positive attitude, and it's going to make a big difference in how you do it. All right, so solving problems, that's not a big deal because you will solve the problem. It might be a financial problem, it might be an emotional problem, whatever it is. Okay, they cycle in and out. They're not going to be with us all the time, but you're always going to have problems, and just know that you have to solve them. So think of long-term, what happens when you finish with that? So if you'll try to use a long-term perspective, I think it's going to make a big deal for you. Okay, so what are we talking about today? We're talking about why a positive attitude is a key to success. So late-night television, self-help books, the internet, YouTube, they're always talking about how everything is going to work out just perfectly. Well, I don't believe in that. I believe that you don't want to sugarcoat it, that people should accept the fact that you're going to have some challenges. That's part of being an entrepreneur. That's part of one of the reasons you'll be successful. Because if you have a good attitude and you can be a problem solver and you can create problem-solving products and you can create problem-solving services, you're going to have a nice business. So many people that have a lot of money, they write books and say, oh, how easy it was to be an entrepreneur. Well, folks, I'm here to tell you there's nothing easy about it, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to paint it and make it sugar-coated. You're going to have to work at this, and the way to do that is have a positive attitude, know that you're going to have a lot of challenges, and that attitude is what's going to carry you through that business. All right, so what's the number one rule in business? Number one rule in business is don't quit your job. If you're just getting started, my number one rule is don't quit your job. The Ted Thomas has more than one rule. My second rule is this. My second rule is review rule number one, and that is don't quit your job, because you're going to have some challenges, and your challenges mostly will be economic. So if you haven't planned for that and you haven't built up reserves in your company, where are you going to be? Because now suddenly you're going to run out of money. Well, that's going to end up in a very bad situation. So don't quit your job. Keep your job. Build up your reserves. Make sure you can do, number one, take care of your family. The second thing, you want to make sure you can take care of your business, but you've got to make sure that you've got reserves to happen that. If you don't have the reserves, I can tell you right now what's going to happen. You're going to get an eviction notice from the office. You might get one from your home if you use that as collateral, because sure enough, you're putting up your home as so you can get loans and so on. You need to think about what you're doing. You need to make sure that you got plenty of reserves so someone doesn't come along and start garnishing your wages or taking things away, or you end up in bankruptcy. All right, how do you do all that? Well, it's going to take a lot more than a positive attitude. Your positive attitude is going to help you, but what you really need to do is don't quit that job. Make sure you got reserves. Make sure you can take care of your family. Make sure you can take care of that business. If you can't do those things, don't start the business and hope and pray that it's going to work. I can tell you right now, prayer is a lousy business strategy. It's lousy. It won't work, and you're going to fall flat on your face. So what you want to do is you want to keep your job. Make sure that you're building up reserves. All right, so here's the facts. All right, the Small Business Administration was created by the Congress of the United States. All right, they were created to lend money to small business and to give business advice. Well, guess what? They tell us 80% of all the startup businesses this year will fail within the first 5 years. Okay, so in 5 years, 80% will fail. Now, there's 20% left over. According to the Small Business Administration, 80% of the survivors will also fail in the subsequent 5 years. That's a 96% failure rate. Folks, 96%. So your chances of making it are slim and none. But you will survive if you've got a positive attitude and you've got reserves and you plan this business. A lot of people don't plan it. They just say, we're going to go into business. So you hear about all the tech startups and all that, but you only hear about the good ones. I can tell you 80% of those are failures. All right, so I'm not suggesting that you become an accountant. I'm not suggesting you become an attorney. I'm not suggesting any of that. I am suggesting that you make a plan, that you have a good positive attitude, because that's going to be a key to success. All right, so what's the failure rate? 96% according to the Small Business Administration. All right, so let me give you a business that I worked in. It's always worked, and it's only going to take me a minute to tell you about it. This business works because I understand risk-reward ratios. So it's a business involving tax defaulted properties. All right, it's just a subset of the regular real estate business. Anybody can be involved in it. You can buy properties for 10, 20 cents on the dollar. You can sell them for anything you want. When you sell them, they have no mortgage when you buy it, so you can sell it for any price you want. This is a business that always works. So let me give you some examples of that. So here's a perfect example. When you buy these businesses, you buy them for 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar. You can sell them for 50, 70, or 100 cents on the dollar. And you can do that all day long. Why? Because there's over 3,000 counties selling those tax defaulted properties. I'm going to run out of time, so I want to make sure that I've told you a little bit about this business. It's available in all 3,000 counties. The local governments have been doing it for over 200 years. I'm going to give you an example. When the county goes to sell these properties, they give 60, 70, 80% discounts. That means they're going to discount the property, and there's no mortgage. When you buy these properties, they're slightly used and abused. You can sell them for any price you want. Some of them are junk. Don't buy junk. Some of them are move-in quality. Those are the ones that you want to look at. So let's say you got a property that had a value of $200,000, but you could buy it for 10 cents on the dollar. Well, that would be a great deal. But there's going to be other bidders at the auction. So let's say they bid and you bid. Let's say you end up paying $50,000 for a $200,000 property. Well, that would be a pretty good deal because you have a 25% purchase price. Could you sell that property? Absolutely, you could sell that property. Are you going to try to get $200,000? Why don't you just think about selling it for, say, $90,000 or $95,000? So I call that a Walmart strategy. You can sell that property for as cheap a price as you want. Target does that. Walmart does that. Okay, that strategy is they buy it low and they sell it low. You want to do the exact same thing. Okay, you bought the property. it's a $200,000 property and you paid $50,000. All right, so what are you going to do with it? Well, you want to sell it. How are you going to sell it? Well, put it on Craigslist, all right? Put it on eBay. Put it on Trulia. Put it on the multiple listing service. All right, you can sell it any way you want. So it's a $200,000 property. Why don't we sell it for $99,000? Well, that would get a lot of activity, right? Well, you only paid $50,000. Well, how about that? So a $90,000 property and you paid $50,000 for it. Well, that's an awful lot of profit. You get to keep all that profit. So this is an example of what a business can be like. All right, I talked about positive attitude. That's where I started. This is a positive business. You just need to understand the risk reward. You can buy for 10 cents on the dollar. You can sell for anything you want. I use a buy low strategy. For those of you who want to learn how to do this, I'll tell you right now, there's going to be well over 5,000 auctions. Anybody can buy at these auctions. Now, right below me, when I finish, you can get a free auction list. So you can go to tedthomas.com and get a free auction list. My name is Ted Thomas.